Germany must not make itself dependent on Russian gas. Economics Minister Robert Habeck says so. At the same time, he criticizes the gas market. There are no government options for regulation. Well, German Federal Minister of Economics Robert Habeck wants to reduce dependence on Russian gas. We have to improve our provisions for next winter, said the Green politician to the newspapers of the Funke Media Group and the French newspaper Ouest France on Saturday. The geopolitical situation is forcing Germany to create other import options and diversify supplies, including infrastructural issues. That is security policy. We have to act here and protect ourselves better. If we don't do that, we become a pawn. Habeck continued to criticize that the gas market was completely deregulated. So far, we haven't had any state influence. It can't stay that way, he said. At the same time, Habeck warned of the consequences of commissioning the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline in the Baltic Sea. He says, geopolitically, Nord Stream 2 not only increases dependence on Russian gas, but also the concentration on a supply route that is vulnerable. Nord Stream 2 increases the need to diversify gas supplies. The last few weeks and the conflict in eastern Ukraine have increased our concern that Russia will also use its gas supplies against German interests, he says. And should Russia attack Ukraine, any sanction that is suitable for forcing Russia to withdraw is conceivable. The situation is currently precarious. The aim must be de-escalation. And Habeck says, at the same time, it's right that the US and the European Union say in great agreement, if Russia invades Ukraine, it will pay a high economic price for it. And now we have a very fitting topic. The former German Chancellor has been in the gas business for a long time. Now he's to become a member of the supervisory board of the state-owned company, Gazprom. There has been widespread criticism of Schröder's commitment, especially in the context of the current Ukraine crisis. And now ex-Chancellor Gerhard Schröder is set to get another job in the Russian gas business. The Social Democratic politician and friend of Russian President Vladimir Putin has been nominated for the supervisory board of the state-owned company Gazprom, the energy giant announced on Friday in St. Petersburg. The annual general meeting is therefore planned for June 30th. Ex-Chancellor Schröder is already chairman of the Shareholders Committee of Nord Stream AG and chairman of the board of directors at Nord Stream 2 AG. Both gas pipelines under the Baltic Sea connect Russia and Germany. The former chancellor is also the head of the supervisory board at the Russian state energy company that's called Rosneft. Schröder had recently criticized Ukraine's demands for arms deliveries in view of the serious tensions with Russia, to Moscow's great delight, as saber-rattling. He also blamed NATO for the Russian troop deployment on the Ukrainian border. His partisanship with Russia had triggered widespread criticism in Germany. There were also discussions within his party. It's time to think specifically about withdrawing the equipment of a former chancellor from Gerhard Schröder, wrote the liberal politician Marie-Agnes Strack-Zimmermann on Twitter. She's a great woman, by the way. He harms the country he is meant to serve and willingly accepts more than good payment for it from an autocrat, she wrote. An appanage from the German state is not compatible with this. Well, Schröder is replacing former Kazakh President Nursultan Nazarbayev's son-in-law Timur Kulibayev as the candidate for the post on Gazprom's board of directors. Kulibayev's name was on the list of candidates for the supervisory board last week. In January, he had already lost an influential post in Kazakhstan after the country was rocked by violent clashes. On the list of candidates for the Gazprom supervisory board, Schröder's name can be found alongside several members of the government, such as Energy Minister Nikolai Shulginov, Industry Minister Denis Manturov, and Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak. After massive criticism of the evacuation of people from Afghanistan, then Foreign Minister Heiko Maas from the Social Democrats apparently considered resigning. According to media reports, a cabinet colleague is said to have dissuaded him. That means because of the sometimes chaotic evacuation from Afghanistan, then Foreign Minister Heiko Maas considered withdrawing early last summer. I also spoke to Olaf Scholz about it and would have been willing to resign, said Maas in an interview with the German newspaper Süddeutsche Zeitung on Saturday. Together with the Vice-Chancellor at the time, however, he came to the conclusion that resigning in the middle of the evacuation would have complicated the processes even further. The fact that Maas is no longer part of the new so-called traffic light government was, according to his own account, planned for a long time. The Social Democrat explained that he never wanted to retire as a politician. I think that the office of Foreign Minister is a good way to end a political career in government, he says. Therefore, when he took office in 2018, he already discussed with the Social Democratic leadership that this appointment will be limited to one legislative period. The so-called traffic light coalition is changing its China strategy. It is focusing on a more uniform course between the ministries in order to prevail against Beijing. An expert sees a break with the course of ex-Chancellor Merkel. That means the federal government is taking a new course in China policy. The new strategy, which is being led by the Federal Foreign Office, classifies China as a partner, competitor, and systemic rival. A spokeswoman for the Federal Ministry of Economics told that to the German magazine Spiegel. The aim of the paper should therefore also be to prevent further conflicts between the ministries, which have repeatedly occurred in the past. The Chinese side always comes across to us with the same speaking note, said Green China expert and MEP Reinhard Bütikofer to the German magazine Spiegel. Only if Germany acts as a united front can we assert our values and interests against Beijing, he said. The smaller coalition partners, in particular, pushed for a change to a more value-based policy on China, but the Social Democratic foreign politicians supported it, he reveals. It was a welcome break from Merkel's coziness towards Beijing, he says happily. China's restrictions on Western politicians like him more and more expose the party state for what it is. The federal government agrees on that. In March 2021, in response to EU sanctions for dealing with the Uyghur minority, China imposed sanctions on 4 EU institutions and 10 Europeans, including Bütikofer. In the past, he had been critical of the human rights situation in China. The Ministry of Economic Affairs is meanwhile working on strengthening German companies in China and, at the same time, protecting them from coercive measures. A spokeswoman for Economics Minister Robert Habeck told the newspaper that the ministry is advocating further market openings and fair competition in exchange with China. In addition, the EU is working on instruments that can be used to react to possible market and competition distortions. And we have one example with Lithuania at the moment. You might have seen the video about that. I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.